Welcome to the Wickedly Smart Women podcast, featuring stellar conversations with emerging and established wickedly smart women. Thanks for joining us today as we celebrate the wickedly smart women who are committed, care deeply, and have the courage to take action and create change all around the world. Now here's your host, Emerald Greenforest.
Welcome to another episode of the Wickedly Smart Women podcast, where we celebrate wickedly smart women and provide our listeners with a wealth of wisdom along with immediately actionable steps to be smarter, spunkier, and more successful in their impact and their leadership. This is your host, Emerald Greenforest, and today we welcome our special guest, Marci Fedor. Marci started her coaching career after a 30-year marriage ended with a surprise divorce. She became a relationship recovery coach because she realized how well she could serve others after her own journey of healing, but in a faster and better way. Her recovery was a long one, but now yours doesn't have to be. And happily, she is now a newlywed. She helps professional women, hardworking parents, and singles all over the world to get unstuck from their past, heal their old wounds and patterns, and start to live adventurous lives. She's been a featured expert in numerous relationship summits, podcasts, and blog radio spots, and is the founder of the Relationship Recovery School and author of the book, Hot Mess to Hot Stuff, which is due out in 2019. Welcome to the show, Marci.
Hi. So excited to be here.
We are so excited to have you. So thank you so much for showing up and being a wickedly smart woman. And I love what you do, Marci, and I love your story. It's a really powerful story. I want to start our time together here today by asking you a question about leadership, because clearly this happens to people. They have surprise divorces. They have to go through recovery. They have to do all the things to get their life back on track. But there are not a whole lot of people who suddenly go through those kinds of things and say, now I have to serve other people. So can you talk a little bit about that calling into a leadership role that you had and go a little bit deeper for us around what happened to inspire you to actually step into that leadership role?
Sure. I'd be happy to. Yeah, it was a rocky road for me. And basically, it was about 7 years from when my first marriage ended and my new marriage started. And 7 years, that's a long time to be recovering. And once I went through the process of my own experience, got some education and the healing that I needed, I realized how quick it could have been if I had just had the help that was available there. And so I did feel called to want to step out into a leadership role and show up and say, hey, there's an easier way. And, don't we all know someone who has been on that road of recovery for, decades even, right? Some people bounce back quickly, but some people don't. And so I just want to offer that to people like, hey, there's an easier way. And not only will you recover from old wounds, but that you can actually develop a whole new way of being, which invites adventure. Like, isn't that worthwhile? Yeah. And, when you're on that kind of journey and you're really vibing high and life is great, you attract a whole different kind of mate.
I hear that. Well, one of the things that I'm hearing in your leadership is that you are also talking the walk and walking the talk. And I think a lot of times people, step into the idea of creating their own business or, putting themselves out there to serve people in some way, but they're not walking their own talk. They're not in alignment with their own talk. So I believe it takes both. You have to talk your walk and walk your talk. Can you talk to us a little bit about that process for you? Like when you did decide to put yourself out there, do you feel like you were already pretty recovered, or did you put yourself out there when you were like at the beginning of your recovery and saying, okay, I'm going to help other people while I'm kind of building the plane as I'm flying it kind of thing?
Right. Yeah. Well, I don't know if I'm ever off the journey of recovery. And so, but here I am stepping in, right? And it was at that point when I was feeling great and started a new relationship that I made that decision. So maybe it was all hormones that I'm all in this love story and life is great. But it's also just a lifelong kind of synchronicity. We were talking a little bit about that before the show. I really have been focused on relationships my whole life, from my parents' difficult relationship to my sister's search for a mate to just friends all around me, a niece that I took care of for a while. And so it's like the desire to help in that particular area of relationship has been lifelong. And so was I in a place of full recovery? I don't think I'll ever be fully recovered. But now I welcome those moments of recognizing that I still have recovery to do, because I love the process of getting in there and, working on it and really, getting to the root cause and taking a big leap in my personal growth. Yeah, love it.
Beautiful. And I'm sure you help your clients do the same. So what did you do before you founded the Relationship Recovery School, just out of curiosity?
Well, my background, I have a bachelor's degree in nutrition. So I was helping people for a long time ago, working in hospitals and whatnot with their food, mostly people who were sick, And then part of that job was about budgeting and accounting. So I had actually a challenging pregnancy and needed to rest. And my ex is like, why don't you do the accounting for my business while you're just laying around? So I'm like, I don't think I'm laying around. I'm trying to grow a baby here. But anyways, so I got roped into that. And then that big business became very successful. And I felt it was in the best interest of my family just to do that accounting work, even though not really in alignment, but had to do it. Felt I had to do it. And then after the divorce came through, I was still doing accounting for other people, but realized it wasn't really a fit for me to sit in a cubicle and look at numbers. I admire people who can do that, but it's not really me. Sure. And so I wanted to get back to nutrition and felt like I needed a brush up kind of a course. So I became a certified holistic health coach. And that kind of broke things open for me, because it wasn't just dealing about nutrition in terms of wellness, that really all aspects of our life have to be whole and healthy for us to be really well. Finances and family and spirituality and relationships, right? And something just like ding, 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 relationships. Yes, I need to work in this area. And then, of course, as I was working as a health coach, all the people who came to me were newly divorced, wanted to lose weight, look great. And I'm like, okay, I need to really look at this and realize who I can best serve.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So,
beautiful.
Yeah. So I went on to just get more education about transformation, relationships. I became an NLP expert. I became a certified hypnotherapist. So I really got the education bug, which makes me a bit nerdish, I know, but I just love it. And so I feel like I have a lot to offer my clients now.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, and so I want to just ask you specifically, are your clients like newly divorced, generally speaking, or are they attempting to not get divorced, or do you like serve people across that bridge? Or I definitely have a specific niche. I'm not a breakup coach. Right. And I'm not a dating coach. Right.
I want that in between period where people are single, whether they're newly divorced or in life, they've had past relationships that have failed, and now they're really looking for a successful relationship. I want to get them in their peak, best, most vibrant place. And then I can hand them off to a couple of dating coaches I know. So.
Okay. So you actually, what I'm hearing there, one of my questions is about personal power struggles and strategies. So It sounds like part of what happened for you in your own relationship ending was there was some power struggle going on there. I mean, I heard it when you said, he said, while you're lying around, you can just, do some work for me. Clearly there was a power struggle there.
Sure.
And it sounds like what I'm hearing, if I'm hearing correctly, you support people who have maybe lost power in relationship and who are they come to you to recover their power so that they can then attract in a partnership rather than a power struggle. Is that what I'm hearing?
Oh, absolutely. You know what, Emma, you are brilliant because this is it. This is the whole thing. Yes, I was in a position of vulnerability. And at that moment, handed over some power and then just got caught in the loop. What is best for my family, to just keep doing something that wasn't in alignment, my best self and my purpose here on earth. And so it felt exactly like that after the divorce and my recovery process, recovering my personal power. And when we do that, we really are shining vibrantly, right? Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Such a smarty.
Totally. Well, it's like literally if you have a light bulb and you take the power away, the light bulb is dead, right? It doesn't look very
That's
good.
great.
It doesn't have any light coming out of it. But as soon as you give it the power back, it's radiant, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Beautiful. Okay. Well, so can you actually give our listeners maybe one quick strategy? We've got a few seconds here before we go to the break, but maybe one quick strategy that you help your clients with when you are midwifing them through this recovery, that maybe the first thing that you have them do.
Yeah, so
a system or some steps.
Yeah, definitely, right. And it is part of a process of discovering who you are and what the end goal is and that's what kind of life you want. And so the first thing I really ask people is, what do you want? So so it's really a big step. Sometimes people are overwhelmed by that question. What do I want? I don't know, right? And so what do you want is where it all starts. First of all, so that you can actually identify what it is. And then the minute we state what that is, we're bringing in all that can help us to get what we want. And it's really like that. At any point when you are overwhelmed or in a bad situation, ask yourself, what do I want? It's not just what the coach is trying to bring out, but it's like, ask yourself that question. What do I want in this moment? Do I want chocolate or fruit? What do you want? Yeah.
Beautiful. I love that question. And I will tell you, Marci, that was a life-changing question for me when I was 38 years old. A friend of mine who had been my friend when I was in first grade showed up back on the radar screen again. And we connected with one another. And I was in this space of contemplating divorce from my first husband. I call them husbands. I have two husbands. And she said to me, well, what do you want? And it was the first time in my life, because I had been conditioned through a dysfunctional family dynamic, to think that I was, had to take care of everyone else. That was that was my modus operandi. I take care of everyone else, and there was no me. There was just me, the machine that's taking care of everybody else. And she said, what do you want? And it was such a shocking question, shocking to me that I actually could have my own wants. So power question there, women, wickedly smart women. This is one to put in your toolbox and hold on to really tightly, because that is a huge power question. So we are going to go to a quick break. And when we come back, we'll find out more about Marci. But right now, wickedly smart women, we need your help. If you are enjoying this show and want us to stay on the air, please consider making a donation at www.wickedlysmartwomen.com. We'd also like to ask you to share with your lovely lady friends who you think might benefit from our content. Help a gal out and let your sisters, mothers, daughters, friends, and colleagues know about the show so we can serve them too. I want to say a big thank you to all of our listeners who are downloading, rating, and reviewing. We're welcoming thousands of downloads from all over the world, and I want to shout out this week to our new listeners in Costa Rica, which is such a fabulous place to go if you're going on honeymoon with your second or third or fourth relationship. So listeners in Costa Rica, we are shouting out to you right now, and we will be right back with Marci Fedor.
The Wickedly Smart Women podcast is brought to you by the Creative Age Consulting Group. Women, are you ready for a big revenue breakthrough so you can stop working like a man and being paid like a woman? Are you ready to take the leap and go deep to claim your value and convert your wisdom to wealth? Is now the time to fulfill your mission and change the world? Creative Age Consulting Group is hired by women just like you who want to break through to their brilliance and be heard by millions while building a sustainable business model that makes bank. Please visit apply.wealthylifemethod.com to apply for an invitation-only consultation. If you have been inspired to receive support in welcoming wealth by making your most heartfelt contribution to the world, be sure to apply for a consultation today. Once again, that is apply.wealthylifemethod.com or click in the link in the show notes to access the application.
And we are back with Marci Fedor. You can find out more about Marci and what she has to offer at leftbrainlove.com. And we will have that in the show notes. Marci, what I'd love to have you do is tell our listeners, what are they going to find when they get to leftbrainlove.com? Because we were talking earlier about, specifically where you serve people in relationship is in that transition phase where they're recovering their power. But what does that have to do with being left-brained?
Yes. Well, again, another one of these aha moments when I realized that the people that I was serving in relationship recovery are a bit nerdish like me. So what I call the nerds are near and dear to my heart. It is a way of thinking more of left brain dominant. And so more logical, systematic. I am a kind of person who is straightforward and blunt. I have practical solutions based in science and my own personal experience. And so I'm just calling it out there. Come on in. This is the place to go if you'd like to recover from a relationship with a particular point of view.
All right. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, so there's other things that we as wickedly smart women and leaders are in relationship with, especially when we are in our own business. So I'd love to talk to you about, this whole idea of regaining our power is also remembering to value ourselves, right? Yeah. But not just to value ourselves, also to value our vision. So when you got struck by this desire to serve people and you went into the creation process and you said yes and you committed and you courageously stepped forward and put yourself into that role as the founder of the Relationship Recovery School, that required you to value your vision. Can you talk to our women around the world about that inner game process maybe for you around like saying, yeah, this is worthy. This is something I really want to invest in, both financially as well as with my time and energy and expertise and skills.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was a vision, right? Not just in relationships, but an overall one. And I have to say, and this is really from my heart, that my own personal vision is to help people, like I said, to raise their vibration. And I believe in that ripple effect where it can affect your raise in vibration affects the people around you. Your family, yes, but your community, your city, your state, the world. So I'm on a big mission to help raise the vibration worldwide, one person at a time. And that feels amazing, but honoring my vision, right? And so it was like that, understanding that once I regain my power, that I can best serve other people. And so when I created a vision about helping others, it had to serve me also, right? And when I learned, like you, that in order to take care of other people, that I had to take care of myself first, that my whole business revolves around what's best for me. And I do honor that. It makes me have fun in my life. It makes me have excellent health, great relationships, because now I have time to spend with people. And then I have the energy. I am full to the brim and able to overflow that over to my clients. So it's just a win-win situation.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, Marci, I want to also just point out to people that's another power question, right? What's best for me? That's super, super powerful and super important. So I am going to ask another question, and then we're almost at the end here. So I want this one, we're going to go a little deep in, and then we'll have a little bit of a wrap up. But the big relationship that often dismantles interpersonal relationships, romantic relationships, is our relationship with money. So when you are working with your clients, do you ever find that money shows up in the conversation? Number one. Number two, how do you help them with that? And number three, what would you say your relationship has been with money, specifically as a business owner? And is there anything that you can offer our listeners to support that? Because as far as I know, like I think the top reason for people getting divorced is squabbles over money. So can you talk a little bit about the money relationship?
Sure. Well, here's what I believe, Emerald. The way we do one thing is the way we do everything. And if in my past history I have been guilty of taking care of others, that also has to do with my money spent on other people. And as a business owner, you have to realize that in order to feed the business, it has to work both ways. And that clients who invest in themselves are really not only investing in my business, but just in the greater good. For my best interest, for their best interest, for everyone around them. But it's also like, it comes up so often, Emerald, that I actually have a lecture about money mindset in my school to help people. And then I have an accompanying healing exercise also, so people can get the perspective they need about money. What is it really? I believe that it's an energy, and if we attract that kind of energy, that it can show up as money. And so, like I said, it happens all the time. And the repair work that I do with my clients to become their best selves also shows up in their ability to attract abundance.
Beautiful. Well, if you had a client story that you'd like to share, we'd love to hear about maybe an example of somebody that you have helped. And it can be either around money or around, the power recovery or anything else that you think would serve our listeners.
Sure. Well, I guess it has to do about money, health, love, all of it. I had a client who was with me for a long time, I would say about a year. Special case he was, but he lost 80 pounds.
Wow.
So really understood about taking care of himself. It was his goal to wear tank tops and be on the water. He loved the idea of driving a boat with a hot babe next to him. Anyway, so he was able to finally put on tank tops after losing weight. But he also received a promotion at work. And that had a lot to do with mindset, understanding his value, and issues around money. So I could say that was successful for him. But he also became a deep sea diver, big goal of his. And he just went on a diving trip to Thailand this last year. And I was looking on Facebook, checking it out, and he had some hot babe with him. And I'm like, what is this? Tell me what's going on. Anyways, the relationship looks very successful. So I have high hopes for continued success.
Yeah. Well, what I love about that story, Marci, is you definitely are illuminating the interconnectedness of all of the aspects of your life. It's not just about relationship. And it's interesting because I'm the Wealthy Life mentor. So I also I'm helping people to have a more holistic and wealthy life. And it's all about finding the facet. Like that's a facet that you enter. But when you do the work in that facet, it can't help but have a ripple effect into every other aspect of your life. Yeah. So beautiful story. Thank you for that. So if there was one final thing that you would want to leave with our listeners about relationships, about relationship recovery, I definitely want listeners to check out Marci's website at leftbrainlove.com. Her new book is coming out soon, Hot Mess to Hot Stuff. So find that on Amazon. There's one final message that you would like to deliver to our listeners about relationships, relationship recovery, and your work. What would it be?
I want to send out a message of hope because it may feel pretty hopeless right now, but believe me, it is possible to recover, that your whole life can change, And that when you make an investment in yourself, that's just the start of it. But getting, the help that you need and starting that journey towards an adventurous life and attracting the love that you've always dreamed of is possible for you. Just say yes to yourself.
I love that. Just say yes to yourself. Yes. I love that. Yes is such an awesome word. And I love how powerful no is to support yes as well. Yeah. And so I want to leave you women with that, knowing that sometimes we have to know, N-O, sometimes we have to K-N-O-W, know, in support of our big yes. And so if you know that Marci is the one to help you say no to your power loss and yes to your relationship recovery, then please find her at leftbrainlove.com. And I want to say, listeners, that we love feedback. So please let us know what you thought of today's show by calling into our listener line at 540-402-0043, extension 4343, or send in questions or guest suggestions to listeners at wickedlysmartwomen.com. We might even give you a shout out on the show. I want to thank you for being with us today, Marci. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in. Keep your ears open. And remember, you are a wonderful woman.
Thanks for tuning in, downloading, and listening. Be sure to review and rate Wickedly Smart Women on Apple Podcasts and share with other women who can benefit from today's episode. Wickedly Smart Women is the premier podcast series for informing, activating, and inspiring the leader who carries profound wisdom and knows that now is the time to welcome wealth. We welcome your feedback and guest suggestions and invite you to subscribe to our mailing list to be notified of each episode at wickedlysmartwomen.com.